Now, there are 5 films from June 2017 that would be under my 3-star rating, but at the same time, it wasn't a terrible, terrible month for bad movies. Like, if I break it down, I think there's 1 movie in the 2.5 range, 1 in the 2, and 3 in the 1.5 range. So, no 1s, but I haven't had a film that's lower than 1 so far this year. So, some of these would be among the worst of this particular year, but probably wouldn't be among the worst of any other given year. But anyway, let's get into the films that I haven't seen so far for this month that probably could have made this list, judging from what I've heard from everyone else, what I've heard from reviews, and my general expectation for these films. I have yet to see All Eyes on Me. I did really enjoy Straight Outta Compton, but everything I heard about this film feels like it's not anywhere near as good as that. Rough Night, which could be worse than The House, a lot of people feel that this and The House are some of the worst comedies of this year. But some people probably did not see Chips or Baywatch. The Book of Henry, which I'm on the fence with because it sounds like it could be a movie that's really entertaining, but maybe for all the wrong reasons. So this might be a movie that's so bad it's good, but still be counted as the bad on any of my lists. Once Upon a Time in Venice, which doesn't look all that good. And Inconceivable, which seems like When the Bow Breaks, but with Nick Cage, who's probably going to have the least screen time in this movie because he's probably going to be the husband that doesn't believe the wife and gets killed and doesn't do much. Those movies I haven't seen yet, but these ones I have. My number 5 is The House. I did review this one. I did give it 2.5 stars. And I wasn't really... This one I was just down the middle with because there are things that I did find funny. There was acting that I did find good, but at the same time there were things that I found over the top, too stupid, and there was a lot of moments where I just didn't laugh. And it feels like the middle was just skit after skit after skit, and it didn't have enough structure for the pretty amazing premise that this movie had. And so when it did become structured at the very end of the film again, and actually did a plot, it just felt like it was just forced in there at the end because it's like, oh, we have to have some sort of ending. But there was enough funny moments in this film that warranted a 2.5 star film for me, and most likely it would get knocked off of this list as soon as I see one of the other 5 I haven't seen yet. My number 4 is The Mummy. There's not a lot I can say about The Mummy other than I felt it was a little too bland and a little too safe. There were some concepts in this movie that I thought, oh, this probably could make a good film, but on the other hand, it felt like it didn't develop those things enough, and it tried to stick to a formula, it tried to stick to a very mainstream sort of feel, and ultimately felt like it was just too safe, too bland, and too generic. And this movie suffers from over-explaining everything to the point where it just drags. You come out of The Mummy confused, not knowing what just happened, then you're a very unobservant person because it just explains everything to you to the point where it was just boring. There were a few good action sequences. There were a few characters I enjoyed, and there was a few CGI moments that were kind of good while other ones looked really bad, such as the mummy's hand whenever she punches through something or someone else punches through a mummy. The hole's not as big as the fist, and it just looks like, how did that fist get in there, and why isn't the hole bigger, and how did she get through her hand through a person's eye out the back without having a bigger hole? How did a person punch through a mummy's neck without completely decapitating it? Yeah, there were little moments like that that really bothered me, honestly. And when you notice those kind of things, it means, well, the movie isn't engaging enough for you not to notice those things. There are many things I can go on with this movie, but for the most part it was just more of a 2-star movie. It was just sort of a meh kind of movie. It wasn't anything awful, but it wasn't anything good either. My number 3 is 47 Meters Down. And there are some people that like this movie, found it to be a suspenseful thriller. And if you're really afraid of being underwater, really afraid of the dark, really afraid of sharks or drowning underwater at a incredibly low depth, then yeah, you could probably find this suspenseful. There are moments in this movie that probably could have been suspenseful for me or scary for me if it wasn't for the fact that I didn't care about the characters, and that's its major flaw with the film. In a horror film, sometimes liking the characters, wanting the characters to survive, makes the movie more suspenseful. If you don't care about the characters, you're annoyed with the characters, you want the characters to die, then you don't feel the suspense, you don't feel the horror, and that's the thing that happened with me for 47 Meters Down, because the dialogue and the characters and some of the acting was pretty awful. The only good things about this movie is there was one moment that was interesting and could have been suspenseful. The whole ending could have been good if it stuck with the negative ending. I went through that in my movie review of 47 Meters Down. And the sharks themselves, they look good. They look real. Ultimately, this is a movie that has potential, and some people will be afraid with this movie. People will like this movie. I didn't. My number 2 is the animated film that didn't get in my best of or honorable mentions for this month, and that is Despicable Me 3. So far, the only Despicable movie that I've liked is the first one. Every other one has been boring to me, too safe, too bland, unfunny, unimaginative, and this one is no different. Not only that, this is a movie with a lot of side plots, a lot of interesting ideas, a lot of things that could have worked, and a lot of directions that this film could have gone, but unfortunately it doesn't develop any of it, and they all feel unnecessary in this film, and they all feel wasted. The whole twin brothers character and Steve Carell's voice of that brother annoyed the hell out of me. There was a few amusing visual gags that could have made me laugh, a few moments where I probably would have laughed if it wasn't for the fact that this movie bored me, I didn't care, and so when those moments happened, I just didn't laugh. In fact, I don't even think I heard a single laughter in the theater throughout the entirety of this film, not even from the kids, which is surprising. If you've liked all the Despicable Me movies so far, and if you like the Minions, and you laugh at them all the time, and you like childish humor, then you might like this movie. You will find enjoyment of this film, but I just didn't, and that's why it's my second worst film of June. Now, the number 1 worst film of June 2017 is probably a lot of people's worst. Some people might also find The Mummy the worst, but I find Transformers: The Last Knight the worst one. And to be honest, there is a whole lot of things that I can say about this film. In fact, I have taped a movie review of this. I just haven't edited because, well, let me give you a little clarification. When I do a movie review, when I do a countdown or a movie review, I film a lot of footage for it. I make up the dialogue as I go. I make up the script as I go and what I talk about. And so it is very raw and unedited, and sometimes it can get anywhere from 30 minutes to 45 minutes. Then I upload it to my laptop, I edit it all, and try to get it down to a minimal, reasonable level. It is going to take me a long time to edit the footage for Transformers: The Last Knight, because the raw footage, my unedited footage of Transformers: The Last Knight movie review, is almost 2 hours long. So I will probably have this countdown done before I even get halfway done and halfway edited through Transformers: The Last Night movie review. So I'm not going to talk too much about this film in this countdown. I've talked about it enough. You just haven't seen it yet because I haven't got through all the raw footage in an edited, reasonable level. Just know that it is very much like all the other Michael Bay Transformers movies, but oddly enough, there's only 2 that I like out of the 5, and that is number 1 and the 3rd one for some reason. Maybe if I watch them again, because I haven't seen either of them in years, then I probably will find it similar to the other ones, but this still isn't as bad as Revenge of the Fallen, but I do have it as worse than Age of Extinction. And Age of Extinction was a film I gave 1.5 stars to. And now it's storming outside. So anyway, those were my worst films of June 2017 so far for me. What were the worst films you saw in June? What did you think about these movies? Go ahead and comment below. And if you like this video and you want to see more, please subscribe and check out my movie reviews or countdowns of 2015, 2016, or 2017. As always, this is Bruce Gifford, and this was just my opinion.